here. Gosh, let's see here. Try to refresh this. Uh, uh, do you all? Is there a chance? I guess maybe that Krennic and or Kylo will shine more once once they're presumably corresponding objectives for both of them are released at all, or is it a thing where we're probably just going to need new versions at some point?
So I think Kylo is definitely going to shine after Set 8. We're working on something big for him, and I think players are really going to like it. It's a very thematic objective. It needs some work still, but it's going to definitely make Kylo a guy that you want to play 3 or 4 of in a deck. As for Krennic, we actually do have some other bigger plans for him dealing with Citric Course for Alderaan. So whether it's a new Krennic that we might make that's more catered towards that, or this one, you would have the option of playing either one. And so, yeah, I do think there's going to be a place for both of these in specific decks in the future.
Okay, cool. I guess we'll move along. Matt, do you want to start off with this Thrawn? Because I think he is inspired by the TV show, and I know you've sort of been one of the folks that's more dialed in with that. So if you want to maybe just sort of go into read him off and explain a little bit of the design thought behind them thematically and everything, go for it, and then Reed and I can jump in as needed.
Sure. So Grand Admiral Thrawn is a half-split version of the original Grand Admiral Thrawn. Imperial, power 4, ability 4, adds 3 to power of anything he pilots. If a rebel just moved from here, your Imperial's present may follow that character using land speed. While at a battleground site, functions as a general, and Admiral's orders are suspended. Deploy of 4, forfeit of 7. So we talked about the Admiral's orders part already. I'll let Reed respond to that in a bit. And then the piloting is normal, typical for him. And then if a rebel just moves here, he can have your other Imperials follow. This was something that I really liked. I think it's kind of a way to simulate how Thrawn is always one step ahead of his opponents. And this simulates wherever the rebels are going, he already knows where they're going, and the Imperials are going to be there waiting for him. So I think that's a pretty cool piece of text that, if he's working in cahoots with someone like Vader, can really do a lot of damage if you have Vader kind of following their guys around and not letting them run away. The last part, this was a cool thematic thing. We talked about ways to get him to work with Imperial commanded sites. His power is 4, up from the original being a 3, because in the TV show they have a lot of stuff with like him doing hand-to-hand combat. He's a very strong and formidable opponent. So we wanted to illustrate that with his power, and also having good on the ground at a site, so he wasn't just the guy you put on a Star Destroyer, because the old Thrawn is pretty good at just piloting a Star Destroyer. Didn't want to compete with that. So instead of just saying something weird rules-wise, like maybe targeted by Imperial command on a site, which was pretty wordy, we didn't want him to be a general because thematically he's not a general. We decided to go with an old, not very often used kind of wording that Decipher used back in Jabba's Palace, I believe, the last time, which is the functions as. So Urtug functions as a leader, and Uglos from Cloud City functions as a leader. We decided that was kind of a cool way to make him work with Imperial command on the ground, so he said functions as a general while at a battleground site, which hopefully gets some use for him, like being at sites, showing off his power and his ability to have Imperials follow people around. So I'll let you and Reed kind of talk about how much garbage this is, or what decks you might play him in.
This card is total trash. I would never put this card in any deck ever. No, just kidding. You guys did a great job on this card. I give this card an A. It's super swell. The Imp Command in space or on ground is awesome. It's kind of fun. All back when they were talking about the General Grievous card before that ever existed. Of course, in its first iteration, his name was Cyborg Commander. They didn't want to make him a general because they were afraid of, this is a general that draws Galaxy on his own. You can pull him with Imp Command, you can slap him down, you can draw 2, he can draw 2 on his own with Imp Command, or limit the opponent with Imp Command. Well, now there's 2 guys that can do that. I don't know if it's good enough in Core Lights. I can do it with Rebel Leadership and Premier Obi-Wan as well. But I don't know if it's good enough to see, some kind of Imp Command spam package where people play 4 or 5 M commands and 1 or 2 Grievous and a Thrawn, and just drop those guys to sites, pull them with the interrupt and drop them to sites, and then play the interrupt again for its effect in battle. I don't know if that's going to be good enough, even though it was something that was avoided at all costs back when Grievous was in development. But it's something to try. I think a little later on, when we discuss what's the card, Established Secret Base or whatever the Endor Ops card. Yeah, Established Secret Base. When we discuss that later, we're going to talk about how Endor Ops is looking like it's going to all of a sudden be good. Well, Grand Admiral Thrawn is the perfect fit for that deck, because of course it pulls Endor Shield with the bunker, and then Endor Shield's going to get your Thrawn and any one other admiral. So yeah, this is looking like it's going to be really good and really impactful, and really you can think about putting him in just a lot of different decks. He maybe passes the Agent Callus test, which is like if you looked at my Coruscant mains deck list from Nationals, I play Agent Callus for no other reason really than the body and the battle cry, which is just the sad state of affairs that dark side characters are in. Well, this guy is probably pretty much an upgrade over Agent Callus, so he passes that test. And so you can put him in a mains deck. You can think about putting him in a hunt down. And again, like with in commands, yeah, a lot of possibilities for this card. So I give this card a solid A. Good job. Round of applause.
Cool. One thing, Reed, maybe back up slightly from your mic or whatever. There was a little bit of echo there. Just a technical note. Beyond that, though, on the card itself, I'm just looking at my notes, and you guys basically covered everything. In the intro, Matt had mentioned, demotion potentially as a counter. I don't know that it'll see a lot of play, but it's an option if you really want your Admiral's Order to go off. You also covered the, why not just put, General into his game text or whatever. I like that. Yeah, I think potentially, in the text box, just saying General would have been okay. I do like that it's a half template slip, really, though, that we didn't put it in the lore, so I think it'll work out well as far as that goes. While we're on templating, and this is just something I just sort of noticed as I'm scrolling through the list here, because Krennic's right above him on the list. So Krennic has the brackets, pilot 2, whereas Thrawn says, has it written out, adds 3 to power of anything he pilots. Is there, what's the, I guess, sort of the design convention with that? Is
that's going to be fixed. That's going to be fixed on the PDF.
Okay. I wasn't sure if that was maybe just a callback to Thrawn, sort of the way the original Thrawn, card was written or whatever. But yeah, basically, that maybe the only other thing I would have is, I could envision a scenario maybe in the Indoor Ops deck that Reed was kind of talking about, where you have Thrawn on the ground. And maybe have an Admiral's Order out, and then you shuttle them up to space to turn on an Admiral's Order or something like that. There's some interesting interactions there potentially, but that's really all I have to say. As far as that goes. So then, I guess the next thing on the list, and there's sort of, I kind of grouped all 3 of them together. Quiggled, Sidon, Ethano, and Messin Martinet.
Who are these guys from the canon? Because I was under the impression that they were the guys from episode 7, but they're not.
They are.
They're the guys from the ship with the monster in it.
No, they're not. These are the guys that...
That's from the Cantina.
They're from Maz's Cantina. These are the guys that Finn just about left with to go to the Outer Rim. They were pirates. There's some other canon comics or backstories written about them that you can read about if you're interested in learning more. But from a design perspective, if we go into this, we did kind of go back and forth on whether or not these guys should be light side or dark side. Ultimately, we settled on dark side because pirate, which is what they are technically, is already a keyword for dark side cards, and also because they're kind of taking Finn away from the mission. While they might have kind of been on Finn's side while he was trying to go away, they were really pulling Finn away from the good guys. So we decided to go with dark side for these guys. But I could actually see an argument for both ways.
Okay. I guess I think, even though, Matt, we had you kind of lead off the last card, I think because these are more, there's a lot of thematic stuff going on here, maybe if you want to take the lead again, I guess my questions would be, they have this text about, if your rep's a pirate or you didn't deploy an objective. Is that something you had in mind for the current metagame, or is that looking towards the future more so?
A little bit of both. From a design perspective, that text was put on there to encourage different CRV decks, particularly possibly Scum, like a Tatooine CRV, but also straight up help my kind of Scum as well. If you make the Hondo Anaka your rep, he's a pirate. He could give you some bonuses there if you play with Hondo and Weekway for your my kind of Scum. And we are kind of in the early talks of doing some non-unique alien versions of these two species, the Gabdoran and the Delphidian. So that is a possibility down the line. But for the most part, it's really a helper for CRV decks right now.
Okay, that's cool. And I guess I wasn't sure, if we actually had other pirates for whatever reason. So that makes more sense now. So that's cool. Reed, just sort of briefly, but both of these guys and or the ship, do you see them fitting in anywhere in terms of you're in a lot of top 8s and even final confrontation situations? Do you expect to see these guys on one side of the table in any of
I'll be cautiously optimistic about it, and I mean, maybe I can't imagine fitting them in. Like, you take a look at the CRV that I played at Nats. Would I be able to fit these guys in? Would they pull their weight? Well, the guy that has to force drain, yeah, I mean that's decent enough. But like I drain at my opponent's system for 2. I drain at my Kashyyyk system for 2, and drains of more than 2 are oftentimes overrated because of ultimatum. The other guy with the force loss text, where once per turn they place opponent's character just lost from here out of play unless opponent loses 1 force. 2 if the rep is a pirate or there's no objective. This is reminiscent of Legacy Ket Nalis, who was a rapid fire, could be used more than once a turn, and he just straight up said if opponent's character from here just lost, lose a force. And of course Legacy was a different era, but even back in that era he was a very fringe card and really only saw play I think in slavers mostly, but that text was really cool. Now, sometimes I read things backwards, and when I read this side-on card, I didn't cast the once per turn the first time I read it through, and I was like, wow, it's really good. It's like Ket Nalis again, and it could be even stronger if you don't have an objective. But then once you see it's once per turn, I mean, really, it's going to end up, and that, with the opponent having the opportunity to place the card out of play instead of take the force loss, it really puts the ball in their court so they can choose which one. I mean, there's a lot of times you can just put the guy out of play; he's not coming back. If you don't have any recursion, or it's a character that's not important to the game, you can just say Fuyon, put him out of play, and in that case, the sign-on guy really is having little to no impact on the game. So there's the force drain +1 on the one guy, which seems like it could maybe be good, but again, once you start getting into huge drain territory, you make it easier for the opponent to mitigate it. And there's the Ket Nalis from Legacy, lose a force if your guy was lost on the other guy, and that's only once per turn. And of course they're all conditional. Also, you have to either be playing Amkos or not have an objective. The damage, the Ket Nalis style damage works for 1 point of force loss, regardless of what you're playing, but really only kicks in if you're taking advantage of the Amkos or the no objective. And so, and of course, the other thing is, if you're playing combat response, you can only get one guy or the other. If you have the ship, if you short range for the ship, you can't get them all together. And maybe even if you were able